I never thought a simple suggestion could turn an ordinary afternoon into something I'd never forget. It started with a casual text from Mia, my best friend since childhood. She had this mischievous streak, a way of turning even the most mundane days into adventures, or disasters, depending on your perspective. That day, she messaged, "Let's trade outfits today. You'll see why." At first, I laughed. Trade outfits? With her? The idea was absurd, but there was also a flicker of curiosity that I couldn't ignore. I'd always admired Mia's sense of style, bold, playful, and unapologetically feminine. And deep down, I had a secret I'd never shared with anyone: I loved crossdressing. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a part of me that I had kept locked away, hidden from the world, something I indulged in behind closed doors. Mia didn't know. She had no idea about my late-night experiments with skirts, makeup, and the thrill of becoming someone else entirely. But her playful suggestion stirred something inside me, a dangerous, exciting curiosity. Could I actually do it? Could I step out of my comfort zone and trade outfits with her, just for fun? The day started normally enough. Mia arrived at my apartment, her arms full of bags, each one overflowing with colorful clothes and accessories. She smiled at me with that teasing glint in her eyes. "Ready to see what it's like on the other side?" she asked, wiggling her eyebrows. I felt my stomach twist, a mixture of excitement and panic. I nodded, trying to play it cool, but my hands were shaking slightly. "Sure, why not?" I muttered, though my voice betrayed me. The truth was, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. We set up a small swap station in my living room, piles of clothes, shoes, and accessories scattered across the floor. Mia handed me a skirt first, soft and flowy, with a pastel floral print. My heart raced as I took it, the texture delicate against my fingers. Then came a blouse, silky, smooth, and impossibly feminine. I swallowed hard, feeling a mix of apprehension and thrill. "Go on," Mia encouraged, stepping back to give me space. "Try it on." I hesitated. The moment felt heavier than I expected. Changing into her clothes wasn't just a swap, it was stepping into a persona, a version of myself I rarely allowed anyone to see. I slipped behind the small folding screen we'd set up for privacy and began the transformation, my pulse quickening with each piece of clothing I pulled over myself. The skirt slid over my legs, soft and flowing, making me acutely aware of every curve and movement. The blouse followed, clinging lightly to my torso, transforming the shape of my body in subtle, exhilarating ways. I adjusted the collar, the sleeves, trying to make myself look right, even though I'd never dressed like this in public before. And then came the shoes. High heels. My first time trying them on in front of anyone. My legs wobbled, heart racing, as I balanced on the delicate heels, feeling both vulnerable and powerful. It was intoxicating, the way they made me taller, the way my posture shifted, the way each movement felt deliberate, heightened, and alive. I peeked at myself in the mirror and gasped softly. The reflection staring back at me wasn't just me. It was someone else entirely. Feminine, elegant, playful, an unfamiliar version of myself I had only dared to explore in the secrecy of my room. My pulse thrummed in my ears, a mix of fear and excitement twisting inside me. Mia's voice broke through my trance. "Wow, you actually pull it off," she said, clapping her hands softly. "I didn't expect you to look this good." I froze, cheeks flushing red. Compliments from Mia were always playful, but there was something different this time, a subtle intensity, a mix of admiration and mischief that made my stomach flip. I tried to smile, but it came out awkwardly, betraying my nervousness. "Come on, now it's my turn," I heard myself say, though my voice wavered slightly. The thrill of the transformation, the way the clothes felt against my skin, made me dizzy with possibility. This wasn't just a swap, it was a step into a world I'd only explored in shadows. And just as I adjusted the last strand of my hair, checking the fit of the blouse and skirt, I heard it, a soft knock at the door. My stomach plummeted. Who could it be? Mia and I hadn't expected anyone else today. Panic and anticipation tangled inside me. Mia peeked toward the door, her eyes wide. "Maybe it's just a delivery," she whispered. But even as she spoke, I could feel the tension in the room spike. My secret, my transformation, my daring experiment, it was all exposed in a vulnerable instant. I glanced at the mirror again, seeing myself fully dressed, fully transformed, and entirely at the mercy of anyone who might see. The thrill, the fear, the excitement, it all collided in one dizzying moment. And I realized, with a shiver that ran down my spine, that this afternoon would be nothing like I expected. The knock at the door echoed in my chest like a warning bell, making my newly heightened senses jump at every sound. Mia, calm as ever, shrugged. "Probably nothing. Just ignore it." But my mind refused to be convinced. My fingers shook slightly as I smoothed the pastel floral skirt over my legs again, the silky blouse brushing against my arms and torso, reminding me how exposed I truly was. The first thrill of stepping into Mia's clothes had been exhilarating, a rush of forbidden empowerment that made me forget the outside world for a moment. But now, every movement felt fragile, amplified by the possibility of someone discovering my secret, this other side of me that I had only explored in solitude. The heels I had strapped onto my feet added another layer of tension, making each step deliberate, conscious, and a little terrifying. Mia giggled beside me, clearly enjoying the playful chaos of the situation. "Come on, let's take this seriously. You look amazing, but posture counts. Walk like you own it." I swallowed, trying to steady my nerves, and attempted a few tentative steps in the heels. My balance wobbled, but the thrill was undeniable. I could feel the transformation coursing through me, not just in appearance, but in the way I carried myself, the subtle sway of my hips, the tilt of my shoulders. Every small gesture reinforced the thrill of being someone entirely different, someone I'd only ever allowed to exist in the shadows of my private life. The mirror reflected a version of me I didn't fully recognize. The pastel skirt, soft blouse, heels, and carefully styled hair created an image both alien and intoxicating. I felt vulnerable, yes, but also powerful in a way I had never experienced before. The reflection staring back at me wasn't just a costume, it was a statement, a revelation, and a temptation all at once. Mia clapped her hands, breaking my trance. "All right, my turn. Let's see if I can pull off some of your, subtle style," she said, smirking as she handed me a pair of pants, a t-shirt, and a hoodie from my own wardrobe. My pulse quickened as I watched her slip into my clothes. The contrast was striking, her confident, feminine energy filling my usually masculine attire. The sight sent an unexpected thrill through me, mixing curiosity with an odd sense of envy. "Not bad, right?" she said, spinning once in the oversized hoodie. "It feels weird, but also kind of fun." I nodded, adjusting my stance, trying to appear casual even as every nerve in my body was alive with adrenaline. "Yeah, it's definitely different," I admitted, though my voice trembled slightly. The intensity of seeing Mia in my clothes, balanced with the exposure of me in hers, was dizzying. There was a strange intimacy to the moment, a shared vulnerability that heightened the tension between us. For a while, we wandered through the living room, laughing softly, comparing outfits, and teasing each other. But beneath the laughter, my mind raced. What if someone actually came in? What if this experiment wasn't as private as I thought? Every creak of the floorboards, every distant sound from outside, felt like a countdown, a warning that my secret might slip from my control. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror again. The pastel skirt, the blouse, the heels, it all felt impossibly delicate, impossibly exposed. My fingers traced the hem of the skirt, the smooth fabric reminding me of how completely different this version of me was. The thrill of being seen, even by just Mia, was addictive. But the fear, the fear, was just beneath the surface, a constant, prickling sensation that made every movement sharp, deliberate, almost fragile. And then Mia had an idea. "Let's make it more interesting," she said, eyes sparkling. "Let's go outside." Just for a little walk. No one will know us. My stomach flipped. Outside? In public? I hadn't imagined this. The idea of stepping beyond the walls of safety, beyond the privacy of the living room, sent a mix of terror and excitement through me. But her enthusiasm was contagious, and despite my hesitation, a part of me, a daring, impulsive part, wanted to take the risk. Okay, maybe, just a short walk, I said cautiously, my voice barely above a whisper. My heart hammered in my chest, adrenaline surging through my veins. This wasn't just a playful swap anymore. It was a test, a challenge, a flirtation with exposure that made the world outside seem impossibly vast and unpredictable. We stepped carefully out the front door, the sun hitting the pastel colors of my outfit, making the fabrics glow in the light. Every step in the heels was deliberate, every sway of my skirt a careful act of balance and performance. I could feel the eyes of the world around us, or at least imagined them, neighbors, passers-by, the potential threat of recognition. The thrill of being seen, even in the imagined judgment of strangers, was intoxicating. Mia laughed beside me, her confidence a sharp contrast to my cautious excitement. You're doing great. Seriously, you look amazing. Own it. I nodded, trying to believe it, trying to sink into this new persona, feeling the transformation ripple through my body and mind. The skirt flowed with each step, the blouse hugged me in all the right places, the heels forced me to move with deliberation, with awareness, with an elegance I rarely allowed myself. And then, a sudden sound, a car horn, sharp and close, made me stumble slightly. My heart raced. The fear of exposure flared up instantly. I caught myself on the edge of a fence, the fabric of the skirt slipping slightly in the motion. My pulse hammered, my breath caught, and for a moment, the thrill teetered dangerously on the edge of panic. Mia's hand brushed mine quickly, grounding me. It's okay, she whispered, but her eyes were sparkling with amusement and mischief. The contrast of fear and exhilaration surged through me like electricity, heightening every sense. We continued the walk, laughter and small slips of hesitation marking our steps. Every glance from a stranger, every passing car, every whisper of fabric against skin reminded me of how precarious this adventure had become. The thrill of transformation, the exposure, the intimacy of sharing this secret with Mia, it all collided in a dizzying, intoxicating mix. By the time we returned to the apartment, I was trembling, flushed, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. My secret self had been tested, pushed, and exposed in ways I hadn't imagined. And yet, a part of me wanted more risk, more thrill, more discovery. Because even in fear, even in vulnerability, even in the possibility of being judged or seen in a way I couldn't control, I had never felt so alive. The apartment door clicked shut behind us, but the tension didn't ease. My heels clicked sharply against the floor as I tried to move with some semblance of grace, though every step felt precarious, as if the floor itself could betray me. The thrill of being fully dressed in Mia's outfit, pastel skirt, silky blouse, perfectly styled wig, and carefully applied makeup, still coursed through my veins, mixing with a jittery fear that made my heart hammer in my chest. Mia was radiant in my hoodie and jeans, spinning and laughing with a carefree confidence that only made me more acutely aware of my own vulnerability. Every glance at her playful movements amplified my awareness of how exposed I truly was, and a part of me thrilled at the thought that anyone, might actually see me like this. But the thrill was short-lived. There was a sudden knock on the door, sharp and insistent, and my pulse jumped. "Delivery," a voice called out. I froze, my hands gripping the edges of my skirt as panic threatened to overtake the excitement. Mia's grin didn't falter. "Don't worry. I'll handle it," she said. But her casual confidence did little to calm the storm inside me. The package in her hand, a mystery box from an online store, felt like a ticking time bomb, a symbol of the precariousness of my secret being on the verge of exposure. I shifted nervously, trying to avoid drawing attention to the way the skirt hugged my legs, the way the blouse clung to my torso. Every detail of my transformation now felt amplified, every sway of my hips and tilt of my shoulders painfully deliberate. The wig teased against my cheeks as I turned my head, reminding me that this other version of myself was visible, delicate, and entirely unprotected. Mia opened the door casually, chatting with the delivery person, but I could feel the tension stretching taut, like a wire ready to snap. My heart raced, my pulse loud in my ears, as I realized that any small misstep could reveal everything. And then it happened. A slip of my foot in the heels, a small, seemingly insignificant wobble, was enough to make me stumble forward. My balance teetered dangerously. The fabric of the skirt shifted, revealing more than I intended. My cheeks flamed, a rush of heat spreading through my body. Panic surged, and I desperately tried to regain composure, pressing my hands against the sides of my skirt to smooth it down. Mia's hand brushed against mine lightly, grounding me. "Relax. You're fine," she whispered, but even her calm couldn't completely settle the storm raging inside me. The neighbor's curious gaze lingered longer than necessary, and I could feel the eyes of the world, or at least the imagined eyes, scrutinizing every inch of my exposed self. We moved into the living room, the package now sitting innocuously on the coffee table, but the danger hadn't passed. Each creak of the floorboards, every rustle of clothing, every shift of fabric against my skin was magnified in the charged silence. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, lavender skirt flowing, blouse perfectly fitted, heels forcing a delicate posture, wig framing my face. Vulnerable. Exposed. Beautiful. Terrifying. And then the twist came. The intercom buzzed. A voice, distinct, unfamiliar, called out, asking to be let in. My stomach plummeted. How could anyone else possibly enter now, in this state, with this other persona fully exposed? The thrill of transformation collided violently with the terror of being discovered, making every movement precarious. Mia shot me a quick glance, her eyes sparkling with mischief and reassurance. "Okay, maybe this is getting more interesting than I expected," she murmured. But her words did little to calm the dread curling in my chest. I backed toward the corner of the room, trying to make myself smaller, to retreat into the fantasy of my secret self, but the heels made stealth impossible. The intercom buzzed again, more insistent this time. Someone was coming, and there was no stopping it. Panic clawed at me. My hands shook as I tried to adjust the blouse, the skirt, the wig, anything to maintain composure. My pulse raced, adrenaline flooding every nerve. The reflection in the mirror seemed to mock me, delicate, exposed, completely vulnerable. Mia, sensing my rising terror, stepped closer. Her voice was calm but intense. "Ryan, whatever happens, just breathe. We can handle this." I nodded, though my chest felt tight. The intercom buzzed a final time. The visitor's voice was unmistakable. "Hey. I'm here to see if someone's home." Time seemed to stretch, every second loaded with unbearable suspense. I could feel the weight of the heels, the cling of the skirt, the brush of the wig, all conspiring to make me visible, tangible, impossible to hide. Every instinct screamed to flee, to shed this other identity and revert to Ryan. But I couldn't. The thrill, the exposure, the intensity of being someone else, someone secret, someone daring, was too powerful. The door clicked. The visitor entered. I froze, every muscle taut. The room seemed to shrink around me, the mirror reflecting my fully transformed self, caught between panic and exhilaration. The lavender skirt, silky blouse, heels, and wig, all of it was on display, every inch of me vulnerable. And then, the visitor stopped. Their eyes widened, then narrowed, a mix of surprise, curiosity, and perhaps amusement flickering across their face. My breath caught. Would they understand? Judge? Laugh? Or accept? Mia's hand brushed mine again, grounding me, and I felt a surge of both fear and exhilaration. There was no going back. My secret, my other self, my daring, exposed persona, it was fully visible now, and the consequences were unfolding with each passing heartbeat. The room held its breath. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of reflection in the mirror was magnified. And I realized with a shiver that my life, my hidden identity, my secret thrill of transformation, it was all on the verge of being changed forever. The visitor's eyes lingered on me, taking in every detail, the pastel skirt flowing over my legs, the silky blouse hugging my torso, the heels forcing a deliberate sway with each step, and the wig framing my face perfectly. My heart hammered in my chest, every beat echoing in my ears. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and entirely alive in a way I had never experienced before. Mia, standing beside me in my hoodie and jeans, looked at the visitor with a mix of confidence and mischief. "They're new to this," she said casually, though I could see the glint of excitement in her eyes. I wanted to speak, to explain, to shrink back into Ryan, the version of myself the world expected. But my voice failed me. The thrill, the vulnerability, the raw exposure of this persona I had nurtured in secret made it impossible to retreat. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, yet part of me wanted to stay exactly as I was, daring the world to see. The visitor took a step closer. Wow, their voice was soft, curious, tinged with something I couldn't quite place: admiration, surprise, maybe a hint of amusement. My pulse quickened. What would they think? What would they do? I adjusted the skirt slightly, my fingers trembling, and felt the delicate sway of the fabric against my legs. The heels pressed into the floor beneath me, each movement deliberate, conscious, and painfully exposed. The wig shifted slightly as I turned my head, brushing against my cheek, a tangible reminder that this other self, the daring, secret, feminine version of me, was fully on display. Mia reached for my hand, a grounding touch in the storm of panic and exhilaration. "It's okay," she whispered. "Just let it be." But the visitor's gaze didn't waver. Every detail of my transformation, every subtle movement, every flicker of hesitation and excitement was magnified in their eyes. I realized, with a shiver, that my secret was fully exposed. There was no going back. Every second stretched into eternity, the suspense nearly unbearable. Then, the unexpected. The visitor smiled faintly, but their eyes held a spark of mischief. "I think we need to talk," they said, and my stomach dropped. Was this a warning? A judgment? Or something else entirely? I froze, caught between fear and anticipation, every muscle tense. The heels, the skirt, the blouse, the wig, all of it felt impossibly heavy, as if the weight of my hidden life rested on the edges of fabric and hair. My reflection in the mirror seemed to stare back at me, wide-eyed and vulnerable, capturing both my fear and my thrill. Mia squeezed my hand again, reassuring yet teasing. "Whatever happens, we've got this," she said. The visitor stepped closer, and I felt the room shrink around me. Each heartbeat, each flicker of movement, each subtle sway of my skirt was magnified in the charged silence. The mirror reflected a dual self, Ryan, the version the world knew, and the daring, feminine persona I had only dared to explore in private. And then, the visitor leaned slightly forward, a faint smirk on their lips. "You're braver than I thought," they said. My breath caught. Every instinct screamed that something monumental was about to happen, something that could change the way I saw myself, the way the world saw me, and the way I would navigate this delicate, thrilling secret from now on. The room held its breath. I felt the soft brush of fabric against my skin, the subtle pressure of heels on the floor, the wig teasing my face. Mia's hand was warm in mine, grounding me, daring me, supporting me. And outside, the world waited, unaware of the delicate, vulnerable, and intoxicating secret dancing on the edge of revelation. The screen fades to black.